Howdy, everybody, and welcome to the Kalamaricast. Nick and Carlos here.
Hola.
And today we're taking a look back, doing a little reminiscing about a game that we absolutely loved.
Oh, my God.
And we still, to this day, refer back to it in a lot of our videos when we compare any game we're reviewing to a game that we think is very near perfect. It is Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare.
For me, it's nothing but nostalgia. For other people, it was just a really great game. But nonetheless, I don't think I've played a game as exclusively or as intensely as I did when that game came out.
We played it, exclusively. And as some of the viewers are going to see when we get into the multiplayer segment,
we still have it.
Yeah,
we still have it.
Obviously, we still have it. And amazingly, people still play it because we booted it up saying, "Hey, let's do a nostalgia review of COD 4." I hope people still are online. There are a ton of people still online.
Unfortunately, the dynamic has changed a lot.
We
has. Almost exclusively saw M40 A3s just getting fired.
It's
one after another. I mean, basically the only people who still play regularly, because there were actually a surprising amount of regular people who played, basically just were like, I'm just going to use the M40 and just snipe exclusively.
There are no noobs left on this game.
Yeah, no. I would not suggest picking this up and being like, oh, let's check it out. Uh-oh.
But if you want to know where it came from, or where everything else came from. So let's go over a couple of the facts and cool stuff about this game. Came out in 2007 and for the Xbox 360. And it was one of the first, if not the first, console first-person shooter to have a modern twist. All the Battlefields, the Battlefields that came out.
BF2 technically came out first, but
that was only for PC.
It mostly was PC. They did make a 360 version,
but
I did play it.
But
yeah,
I think
I'm not sure, to be honest.
Yeah.
But I can tell you for one thing, since that game has come out and become very, very popular. I mean, we're two nerds sitting in a room talking about it right now, but I can only imagine the other people that we were both being owned by and owning. That it was the first modern game, and it spread like wildfire.
Yeah, this was the first.
It got Medal
title
of Honor to go from strictly World War II to Modern Warfare. Battlefield from doing its World War II and I had a small Vietnam stint to doing Modern Warfare with Battlefield 3 and Bad Company 2. You could even argue.
Yeah, because that was for console, and people loved that game, but again, it was modern. And so the Call of Duties that came out before, and interestingly, all right, so this one was done by Infinity Ward and Activision. The other Call of Duties, a lot of people know, but a lot of people don't know. A lot of the Call of Duty titles have been made by two separate companies. You've got Treyarch and you've got Infinity Ward. Infinity Ward started their Call of Duty career with Modern Warfare.
Yeah, I believe that's true.
I think it is, because the other ones were all Treyarch, and then Treyarch kept going with World at War.
Yeah, and then they did Black Ops.
And then they did Black Ops.
Personally, I think that was just silly. But
so, what do we love about this game? Well, the campaign was awesome. The plot was great.
Oh my gosh!
The story was fantastic, and they continued it on. I don't actually know the end of it because I haven't played Modern Warfare 3 because I can't bring myself to, and we'll get to that. But
I think for me, the number one thing I most enjoyed about it was that it was the first time where I was put in a video game and I thought like, wow, maybe not necessarily my experience with a potential military campaign, as in going to enlist or signing on and then being put in front lines. It may not be my experience, or I'm not going to be in SAS because obviously I'm not British.
Right.
I'm not going to be in some
we're not
TFU or I'm not badass enough. But it was the first time that you were put in a situation where you were like, oh, maybe this is what actual troops go through. They had real lingo, real weapons, like everything that you saw in any of the Modern Warfare games actually does exist.
Let's back it up and say any of the Modern Warfare games until like 3, because I think 3 probably had some.
I'm not sure about 3, but I can tell you that Call of Duty and Modern Warfare 2.
They were extremely realistic.
The Javelin was the exact interface.
Everything was based off of real guns, and
it also wasn't just real guns, but it was also real tactics, real lingo, real equipment. When that AC-130 flies overhead and shoots that 120 millimeter cannon, that's a real 120 millimeter cannon. it was modeled off of something that was real.
Right.
I mean, granted, they did change a few things. Like, for instance, in Modern Warfare 2, I think they did it mostly for the balance of the game. Like, Modern Warfare 2, the Vector shoots 45 caliber bullets with no recoil and is very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
But they made it weaker than the MP5, which,
right.
obviously...
But we're not talking about
I know.
Modern Warfare 2.
It's
easy to
hard,
get off track.
It's hard to, because that was the rock that everything else was built off of.
Right. So you mentioned briefly the mission where you're flying overhead in the AC-130 and just blowing things away. Everybody knows that mission. Everybody loves that mission. You're not actually you're not in danger at all, but you're just so overpowered and flying.
It was just
overhead
fun to watch things fly
and blow. I'm gonna shoot something the size of a small a small car, a small a motorcycle, I guess. Practically. Well, how is never mind. I'm not going to ask that question. I'm not going to ask you how big the actual round is.
It's big.
It's big. It's not as big as a small car, but I got a little carried away there. Another mission that we both loved was All Gillied Up, the one where you're with you have the whole soundtrack. We were both Call of Duty for fanboys, but you were on another level.
I actually got the soundtrack from someone, and it was just like, here's a bunch of music.
Blame it on them. Blame it on them.
Shut up, Nick. I got all of it, and I was just like listening to it, and I was like, oh, I remember exactly what happens in this. That's what I'm talking about, nostalgia. Like,
yeah. But in All Gillied Up, it's you and it's a flashback. You actually get to play as Captain Price, and you go back to his days where basically you're still in like Soap's position, so to speak, but when Captain Price was in Soap's shoes, and
exactly.
with Captain McMillan, and you're gillied up.
The fact that you the part I've never had blood pulse through my body, like laying on the ground and having a tank drive on one side, like maybe like 2 feet away, and then another guy on your right, like just kind of walking by, like looking at the ground, and you're like, oh, thank God.
That was what was so great about it. It had like that. It had every aspect, because you had missions where you were just in vehicles. Obviously, you have the AC-130 mission. You have missions where you're a tank, basically, and you're told to grab a.
Well, I think you're assisting a tank.
No. I'm thinking you're like the tank style of soldier play.
It's
you've
one
got like
tank
your
and a
stealth.
bunch of
You got
guys.
like your stealth style, your tank style, where you're told to like quick grab that machine gun, mount it somewhere, and just mow people down.
Yeah.
You've got that. Then you've got the ghillie suit one where you're supposed to be silent and stealthy. The game ran the gambit. And whatever you wanted to do in that game, at some point in it,
and that's what I meant by the realism, in the sense that you had your, I'm a Marine, I'm a corporal, I think, in the game.
Sorry, to sound like
whatever. You're a relatively low rank, put in the front lines, and you're going through a mission like you would in a small group in an actual conflict.
Right.
And then you have other aspects where you're, SAS, super secret. Let's sneak in, and I think, was there SEALs in this game? I think there were. I couldn't remember.
No, it was
I
only
think Griggs was a SEAL.
Possibly.
I don't know.
I'm not sure they can do SEALs because of SOCOM. But anyway, the one thing that I think that really made this campaign fantastic is because it didn't suffer from the first-person shooter campaign virus I keep talking about, and it is, you knew what was happening the whole game. You were bouncing between two separate stories, and you knew what was going on. You knew what was happening. You knew the characters. They were introduced well, and it had times for you to take a step back and understand what was going on. You weren't just being thrown into things and chaotically.
Halo's a little like that.
Halo's like that. Battlefield, Battlefield 3, I love it to pieces, but the campaign was awful because of that reason. You're basically going through the whole campaign going, just shooting everything that moves, and then 10 hours later you're like, oh my God, what the fuck just happened? I don't know. I just pulled the trigger a bunch of times. You have no idea what's happened. Call of Duty 4 wasn't like that. That's why we can recall stuff, all these examples like this, because we knew what was going on, and we played it a fucking billion times. But
I mean, from the first level where you get in a helicopter and the music's going,
just so good,
and the sonar ping hits, and then you just drop in and you're like, what am I doing on this boat? Like when the game first starts, you're like, I have no idea what I'm doing on this boat, and then you get to the end, and you're like, oh, there's a nuke in this boat.
Well, I'm gonna pause you there because obviously you don't always watch them, but there was a briefing segment
Oh,
before
yeah.
every single mission. So if you are like me and you want to know what the hell's going on in the story of the game,
You had the
you take a minute and you listen to the briefing and you know exactly what's going on. A lot of games do that, but they don't actually tell you anything.
Yeah,
it's
just
like
something
it's some
flashy. Like,
it's flashy, it's banter, it's a good loading screen. They can play a little they can play a little something while it loads, and that's what it was. But they gave you more.
they give you
all
more
right.
content, especially.
Yeah. So multiplayer.
Oof.
Multiplayer was fantastic. I was, as the viewers are now seeing, if you look at the bottom of my screen, we played this game so much. I guess I still am, a 55 10th Prestige. And I have a love-hate relationship with prestiging.
It's good until you reach
And
the
then,
max.
yeah, well, no, it's good. You have fun. But every time you prestige, you're like, oh, I need to do this because I've opened the can of worms, and I can't stop until I'm 10th prestige. But you hate it so much because by the time you get to like the 50s, you're like, you have your classes set, you're not really unlocking much more, and you're kicking ass, and you start it over again, and you got to start from the beginning. Which, if you're good enough, it doesn't really matter. that
However,
much.
I do recall the times when we've been playing and I was like, oh, just prestige, yeah. And then you make that switch back, and then you pick one of the shitty classes,
Yeah.
and then you just get like 30 kills in a row, and you're like, whoa, what
What
just
just
happened?
happened?
and then of course you realize, oh crap, I didn't unlock the barracks yet. so none of those kills counted. And
Yeah.
then that next game, after you already unlocked the barracks, you're just like, ah, shit.
This game was also for a lot of people, the first introduction into class-based gameplay.
Yeah,
I
I'd
know.
say so.
I know a lot of other, like the other Call of Duty games, had it, but the other Call of Duty games weren't quite as popular. Don't get me wrong; they were popular. A lot of people played them, but this this game exploded onto the scene.
Well,
And-
it was like. I almost want to say it was like Halo, because like Halo was one of the first ones that really got first-person shooters started,
And
as
online
well,
multiplayer.
as well as online. Well, the first one didn't really have it, but
Yes, it did.
Halo 1?
Did well? It had it at some point. People used to.
Oh
play.
well, I mean, we used to go over to each other's houses and
But
kick
even
the shit out of each other. But
even without LAN, I'm pretty sure when Xbox Live first came out, it's
I can't
Halo
recall.
1, Halo Combat
I know
Evolved
Halo 2
was still.
had it. Anyway, but the fact that, like, you know, all of us got together, we got in a group, and we just ran train on people.
Yeah,
And
for us that was the first real big
Lawnmower Clan.
Lawnmower Clan. Long live Lawnmower Clan. And
Dot
if
equal
any
dot
game
slash.
developers are listening, in your game, please allow symbols into clan tags, because in Battlefield
or service,
and all that,
whatever.
and service tags, because I miss Lawnmower so much.
I mean, we do have herp, derp, and jizz, so
those are
and foreskin.
But
that
see,
was also a creative
But
one.
see, they're not the same. When people logged on to people sat in the lobby playing Call of Duty, you could tell that all those people were together.
Yeah.
Unless you change your gamer tag,
Which
spend
is-
$10 to change your gamer tag.
Well,
and-
I mean, it's $10 now. Beforehand, you had to just buy a new one. And
well,
like,
yeah, and that was
and then
good of
everybody
Microsoft.
had
but-
XXX.
Yeah. Anyway, we're getting off topic. So the classes were fantastic. The guns were were real guns.
We also had some. I had some fun. I'm an engineer, and that was my first experiment with modding controllers, where I made a.
We don't condone it, but we did it for fun. That the guns didn't have a rate cap on how fast you could pull the trigger,
no, they didn't.
which was awesome for me, because I figured out that I could pull the trigger very, very quickly when I had
You turned the
sidearm.
USP into a submachine gun,
and it was fucking awesome. It was so much fun. But for the hell of it, yeah, we soldered
one broken controller and a soldering iron,
Yep.
and
And then we
I
little
ended up
extra
soldering.
button.
I soldered a wire connecting the trigger post on the trigger, or the post on the trigger, switch necessarily, to the rumble pack, so that every time you pulled the trigger, the rumble pack would do the spin, and every time it spun, it was essentially just a pulse that it sent it, and every pulse was another trigger. So it was.
So
just
you would
turned-
walk up
it
to
turned-
somebody with a deagle and
I-
just shoot every bullet.
No,
in,
the Deagle was the tame one. The scary one was when you got the Barrett out, and it just was like.
it was a lightsaber of fire, basically coming.
I
out.
remember turning corners, and 3 people were there, and then 3 people were gone.
We need to clarify, we didn't do that a whole lot. We brought it out.
That was only when we were like.
We brought it out every once in a while for shits and gigs, but we did take the game seriously.
Well, the other thing was the controller was broken, so you couldn't really look up.
Yeah, it was just for fun. We did it because we could. The kill streaks. Now, this was at least my first introduction to kill streaks. You had 3. You had the UAV, which benefited everybody. It was
if you were smart about it. I remember like you and I and Hubert.
You waited until there wasn't a UAV going on at that moment. If 10 people use their UAV at the same time, it still only works as one UAV. So you look at the map and you waited. And you know what? If you got 2 more kills and got the next kill streak and you didn't use your UAV, whatever. The next kill streak was the airstrike, and the third kill streak was the helicopter. And that was it. Then you just kind of got, like, notices when you got everything else. It's like, congratulations, you got this.
I'm pretty sure I got a 10-kill streak while we were playing.
You did. And the problem with the other Call of Duties was, with Call of Duty 2, although I did, or Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, I should just say Modern Warfare 2. Although I did like that, we didn't play it nearly as much. We got sick of it a lot quicker.
Yeah.
We never got sick of this game. But there were so many options, and some of the kill streaks were just so overpowered. And it's like,
I strictly remember people that had it set up 5-kill streak to the Predator missile, 2 for the Harrier strike. Then you get like maybe like especially because the Harrier strike was like an airstrike and then it was a helicopter in one. And it was just like, oh, I need to get 3 kills and I can, or 4 kills or something,
AC-130.
and I can hide in the corner.
Yeah,
and then
get to 11,
you
you
get
get
the
the
AC-130,
AC-130,
and you're like,
and
all right, I'm just going to annihilate.
Yeah, and I was one of those people, and it was really lame because once that happened, it overpowered the game, and that's what this game had such a great balance. Also, the levels in this game, they were part of the campaign, which is great. Almost every level you could.
I mean, it makes it easy for developers, but at the same time.
But it's cool. You're like, oh, I remember this part of the game. Now I get to play more in it. I've always liked that about games when they do that. I like being able to see like actual parts of it. You're right. It is easy on developers, but I think it's kind of cool. But the places that they picked, the parts of the maps that they picked,
were really intricate.
And
intricate, very, very diverse.
Really balanced. There were no places where somebody could hold a tower, really. There was no tower power, and there also was no place to really pin somebody. I mean, obviously, in any game,
map with enough people, you can do it.
If one team is it's just, absolutely trampling the other one and holds them against their spawn, but that goes without saying. But there really was no, like tower power. And
I agree. There was no. Like I remember, like some maps in Halo were like that.
Obviously, and that's what they were designed to be. But Call of Duty didn't do that. Call of Duty said, "Let's do more a concentrated bit of firefight. A concentrated firefight could happen anywhere in the map, and I
agree with that.
And it would be diverse and quick, and you could use cover and all that stuff, and that could happen anywhere in the map. Halo wasn't like that.
Yeah, that's true. One of the other fantastic things I loved about multiplayer was just sniping.
The sniper, that was one of the best sniping games ever.
They had the perfect combination of maps where you could include long range sniping, where you could barely see someone and still get that headshot, but you could also have close quarters fighting and medium range fighting, where you didn't have to worry about like at any given moment there's going to be a sniper rifle bullet through my head.
Right.
Key example. Maps like Overgrown and Crossfire, where and the number one thing I loved about Overgrown was that the whole map was grassy, and you were in a ghillie suit as a sniper, and you were like, oh, if I stand still in this bush, no one sees me.
Yeah, there was one giveaway that I always used. I would do one of two things. I would either, scope out, just look at the scenery, get in my spot, lying down somewhere. And I felt
the predator instincts
felt so good. You just wait for movement. As soon as you see something move, boom, there you go. You zoom in, and I had it where I could just quick scope it. Boom, that was it. Or the other thing was you pan extremely slowly, and there was a slight lag when your reticle was on top of an enemy. It held just a second. It slowed down.
It had that like auto assist.
Yeah, just little auto assist where it wanted to stay on an enemy, and as soon as you felt that, even if. A lot of the time, you would just like be going over some grass, and it would stop, and you go, "I'm on top of somebody. I can't see them. I'm just looking at some grass." It was that good.
Yeah.
You made a good point about how they ruined that in Modern Warfare 2.
Granted, it was cool. The thermal scope, that was pretty cool. but
It made it too easy.
It made the ghillie suit like, why am I wearing this monkey suit?
Yeah.
Like,
It's the sniping, and also I don't think the maps were as good for sniping because I don't know. I never had as
me.
much luck.
I think the map was named Block, where it was
Okay.
just 2 apartment buildings on opposite sides and a courtyard in the middle, and I sat on the
yes.
top floor and was just like, "Where
missed that one.
come to Papa?"
Oh, we didn't get all this footage that you're saying we got earlier today, and we're all excited. We probably should have given it like another day so we could calm the fuck down, but we didn't. We want to do it now. God damn it! But you're right. We didn't get to play that one.
We didn't get Block, and personally,
We didn't get Overgrown either.
Overgrown either. I'm ashamed.
You can't. Unfortunately, there's no voting, and actually, that's not true. There is voting. There's vetoing, but you never get a chance. It's like in Halo, you get to pick 3 things that you might want to play.
But this one,
In
was
this,
just
it's
like, I don't like it.
You can say no, I don't want to play that once, and hope you got something better. You didn't always.
But I agree. And like, such a beautiful game.
Such a beautiful game. I think we should go back and play more of it.
Maybe.
You can probably still find this at GameStop or something like that if you or on online play and trade stuff like that. It's around. There are copies floating around.
I mean, I guarantee you won't find it for over $10. You don't
Probably
need a
not,
stupid
no.
online pass like you do with everything nowadays. You pick it up, you put it in. Even if you just play the campaign, don't even play it live.
Chances are you've played it or you've played the other ones. But if you want to go back to Genesis, back to what
that was like the apex of my gaming days.
Yeah, but if you want to go back to Genesis of like what today's first-person shooters are built off of.
I mean,
because
it had the point system. It like even Halo has reached its hand into that.
Exactly. I would argue that had Call of Duty Modern Warfare not been as big as it was, Halo would not yet have class systems. Because it advanced it a long, years ahead of schedule. So if this hadn't, happened, and
if it was just simple,
and Halo had thought about it the time that Call of Duty or Modern Warfare 2 was out, they probably wouldn't have it yet. And they might make it into the or maybe they would just be introducing it now instead of having it in Reach as well. That's how successful this game has been.
Well, also not to mention the challenges. We completely forgot about challenges. The
commendations.
Well, that and yeah,
because there were no challenges, but there were commendations.
Well, no, there were. It was challenges. Get 25 kills with
Those
the
are commendations.
MP5. Oh, okay. I didn't know what you were going for. But also it had challenges like kill yourself and one other person while holding onto the grenade. Get 2 RPG kills while falling. Get a double headshot with a sniper rifle.
So even after you were 10th Prestige, there was still shit to do.
Well, I mean, for prestigers like you and I, it was the only way to prestige because it took forever to do everything else.
Yeah, I need to use every fucking gun and get like the.
But I mean that was the fun part.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of times now I find myself just saying like, oh, I found my weapon that works. I'm gonna use this, and then I'm like, this is repetitive.
Yeah, it forced you. It forced you to go out of your element.
It forced you to use other weapons, and then not only that, but also to do well in them.
Yeah,
and not just to use them in the lame ways, but also to use them, Like, I remember Hubert was the king of the M21 and would just walk around and hip fire the motherfucker. Like, I have never seen someone hip fire. And he would get lots of kills, but then you forget that it was a sniper rifle.
Yeah.
I mean, it had like a 20-round clip, semi-auto, and no fire caps on it. You could sit there and hammer that thing and kill anyone in sight. But then the second he tried to scope up with it, he was like, miss. I mean, he was a pretty talented sniper at times, but during that, using that weapon, he was not.
Yeah. Well, that's
nostalgia.
That's nostalgia. That's a little look back at Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare. Hope you guys have enjoyed this game as much as we have in the past, and I don't know, maybe this little bit right here,
this little history lesson,
/ look back. Maybe you want to pop in your copy because apparently there are people still playing it.
Yeah,
it's fun to get your chops back.
I never lost them, Nick. I knew where it was.
All right,
I brought it.
All right. As always, thanks for watching the Kalamaricast. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter at the Kalamaricast. And if you have any video games that you are equally as nostalgic about that you would like us to talk about, and maybe we're just as big fanboys of it as you are. Comment, let us know, or email us at kalamaricast@gmail.com, and we will see you next time.
Later.